Hey guys, welcome back. I got something planned tonight that I've been wanting to do for a little while now. Last summer I picked up a PC Engine Dual R system off eBay. It was a pretty good deal from a US seller. These devices are Japanese only. In America, we had the TurboGrafx. And back in 89, 90, I did own a TurboGrafx for a short time before I realized it was kind of futile to try to collect for all these different game systems I owned at the time, and something had to give. I mean, I had the Nintendo, the TurboGrafx now, the Genesis, the Sega CD was on its way out, the Super Nintendo was on its way out, Game Boy, Lynx. It was too much. And my high school butt didn't have any way of affording all these platforms at once. So the TurboGrafx had to give. As much as I hated to do it, I only had a few games for it. So flash forward all these years later, I decided to get myself a Japanese PC Engine. I always wanted the normal Core Graphics PC Engine, the original model that's like, so big, about the size of a CD jewel case. But this is one of the last models that NEC released. It's kind of their ultimate edition, so to speak, of the system. The Dual R and the Duo RX came after this for a short time. It had a different controller and is cosmetically pretty much the same looking device for the most part. There's maybe a couple of odds and end differences, like the power button is different color. So anyway, I thought I would do a quick video showing this device off real quick. It's an awesome console. It's something you're never going to see made ever again today. At the time, this was mid 90s. Everything was just awesome coming off the 80s. All these companies were throwing everything at the wall trying to make it stick in terms of design. And especially from NEC, who's released quite a few different variations of the PC Engine overall. So I've already had this open before, but it came nicely packed. And what you're about to see is pretty much how it came when I got it. And I'm super happy to have it and finally own it. And I just wanted to show it off and maybe talk about it a little bit. The first half of this is basically me going to be unboxing it and taking it apart, showing off the ins and outs of it. And then I thought I'd hook it up to my CRT here and just show off a few games. Given that the games are on the expensive side, I'm really not much of a collector for these things anymore, for these systems. So I only have a couple games. This is the AC adapter. It's just composite cables. One thing you can do, though, is RGB mod these systems. I know my brother has done it. Let me see if I can get this out of here without making a mess. Came very well packed. And I haven't had it out for a little bit. I kind of stored it away. I need to make some room. Eventually, when I get a bigger place, I'm just going to have everything out. So there's the system. And on the one foam here piece, put that down over there. Okay, here it is. You have your controller. It looks like your basic Core Graphics PC Engine controller, just with some original refinements to meet the Dual R's aesthetics. You get the double turbo buttons, low, medium, high, 2 buttons, select, start, D-pad. Very nice D-pad, actually. It feels very nice in the hand. At this point, NEC and Hudson were well above what the gamers wanted. They knew how these things, devices worked, and a gamer system, so to speak, is what I'm trying to say. And of course, your power brick. This is an official NEC one, which is great. Sometimes when you buy these secondhand, you get a secondhand AC adapter. Also included in here is the original packet with the manuals, warranty cards, so forth, which is very cool. I always love the little diagrams of what not to do. A lot of times they'll have like a little cartoon version of the device at hand. You see that all the time with like Game Boy, and it's kind of cutesy. It's showing you what not to do and what to do, and don't put this in water and so forth. So let's get this box out of the way here. I'll give you a quick little view of it. Kind of cool. Nothing too crazy. It's a system with a disc flying at it. So pretty good shape though. I think I paid $275 shipped plus tax. Some guy in Ohio had it. Now, something you're going to notice, I'm going to see if I can fix that actually a little bit, is the console's got a weird color to it. Depending on how you're lighting it and what kind of ambient light you have and the room looks like. All right, so we got a white here. So if I put that in there, you can see it's pretty white overall, okay? Even there, it's a little white. There. You can see it's pretty white. I actually did the cheap retro braiding of this controller. It was pretty yellow when I got it. It came out pretty nice. You can actually see a little bit of yellow in here, but the whole controller kind of looked like that. And I think it came out pretty nice overall, just for putting it in some hydrogen peroxide. I'm sure it'll eventually turn back to that color. Unfortunately, it's just something that happens with a lot of these plastics at the time when they age. Yeah, but under a certain lighting, this system and the controller either have a pure white color, or they'll have almost like an off-white, and kind of weird. So I'm going to get this out of here. This is the original packaging it came in, and there you have it. This, as far as I can tell, does not have any yellowing to it. So I've had it outside in the sunlight, and it looks pretty white. It's not like bright porcelain white, but like I said, it depends. I've seen some of these that are just pretty much these colors. My brother has the Duo RX, and one of the differences is the logo's up here, and the open button here for the CD canopy is purple. It's like this kind of purple over here. So those are on the logo itself. So those are the two of the things that, you know, overall are pretty much the big differences. So let me zoom in a little bit here. Let's get this a little closer so we can take a look. So over here you have your power button, the controller port. This opens up the CD door. Very nice. And on the back you have your video out and the power out. AC adapter. That's all there is to it. It's simple and it works. Right here in the middle is a light that indicates when the CD that is playing at the moment, the drive is accessing, it'll blink and light. Something that's interesting is I don't know if the Duo R has that or not, or if it's, I've never seen my brother's light up, so I don't know if the bulb's out on his or what that's about. But so anyway, what's great about this system is it handles, as I said, this is one of the last PC Engine versions of the PC Engine that was ever released. So NEC went all out. They put everything they could into this system. You have the CD cart slot here, CD hatch here, where you play CD games, and the Hue card slot here. This flips open. You slide your Hue card in there. Flip the power button. There's actually a little tab here that locks it in place. I'll shut it off in a moment, and that shuts. So the system that America got was the Turbo Duo, which, if I'm not mistaken, came out before this. I'm not sure what the timing is. I know this came out around 93, 94, if I'm not mistaken. I can't. My brain's. I'm starting to lose track of these dates and everything. But in America, we got a black system, and it was called the Duo, just the Turbo Duo. Same basic design in a way. Had the place for the Hue card, and it had the place for the CD games. Normally the PC Engine itself was at, I don't have it in front of me. I don't own one, but it was a small CD jewel case size system, very compact, and you had a separate CD system that would kind of lock together on this tray. And what they did here was just put everything together, compile it together in one easy go unit. But it's in pretty good shape. Model number there. It's got the little foot pads. I've had it open before, and it's super clean inside. I didn't see any issues with any capacitors and everything. Everybody's like, you need to change capacitors, you need to change capacitors. I'm one of those people. I know my father, he's a ham radio guy. He's always messing with electronics and radios, and he's told me for years, if it's working, don't mess with it. I mean, I'm sure at some point it's going to happen, but right now these capacitors seem to be holding up. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm not going to go in there. The thing's working great. It looks super clean. I checked it over. It looks nice. I don't want to get in there and I don't feel comfortable going in there and doing that to this system as of yet. But I do know some of these models do have issues with capacitors. I do know that the Turbo Duo had that problem where the capacitors just leak like crazy. And from what I've read, the Duo R and the RX seem to have better capacitors in that regard. I don't know if they learned a lesson from the Turbo Duo or what, but knock on wood, it's been easy going so far, and I'm hoping it'll get me a little time in the future. If something, I'll take a peek in a year or two and see how it looks. But I'm just going to take his advice for now. I'm not going to mess with it if it's working. So, because I know people are always saying, get that thing changed over right away. I just got the thing, and that's not really at the top of my game right now. Like I said, I'm not putting it down, not against it. Do what you need to do. A lot of these systems do need it. So anyway, that's pretty much the system as a whole. So I have two games. I have a CD game and I have a HuCard game. These are two games I picked up during the summer last year that after I got it. And I haven't really been collecting for this thing. It's very expensive to collect for, unfortunately. The disc games are up there. And I'm not really much of a collector to begin with. At this point especially, collecting now after the pandemic is a little out of hand. But the one HuCard game I got is Dragon Spirit here, which is a Namco arcade game port. And Namco worked very well with NEC and the PC Engine and the HuCard. They were knocking them out of the park with these games and these ports. Very supportive of them. And this is what these look like. The games came on these little cards called HuCards. So you had an instruction manual over here, and then you have the HuCard here. And these were custom made by NEC to hold the HuCard. This is back when there was so much care and design put into these things. It's so cool. I mean, look at this instruction book. It's awesome. Lots of nice, vivid colors. Makes you excited to want to play the game. So the Dragon Spear here is a port of an arcade game. And at the time, it was one of the top. This version of it, so to speak, on the PC Engine and the TurboGrafx, because it did come to America. This game was the best way to play this at home. So what happens is, if you want to play this, you're going to open this up. You're going to take the card out of the sleeve. The thing is super thin, very slick, and it has the pins here for it to read it. Little warning not to mess with it. It's in pretty good shape. And what you're going to do is you're going to open this flap. You're going to lay the game in. Just slide it in. That's it. And you're going to flip the switch. Locks it into place. You can close the lid if you want. Game's going to come on. I'm going to demonstrate that shortly in the next little segment I'm going to do after I'm done this. So it works equally as well with these CDs. You don't want to force this open. It doesn't have, it's very firm. So the CD game I have is Gradius 2. I'm a big shooter fan. I've always been a shooter fan. I know a lot of people like to use the word shmup. I don't. I like to use the word shooter because I'm old school and I'm old. And that's how I've always known these type of games to be. I'm much more preferred of the vertical variety, but Gradius are fantastic games. And the second game in the series, Gopher, is awesome. So that goes in there, just like this. You close the lid. Once again, you hit the power button, or that's the eject, excuse me. Power button down here, and it's on the screen. I will demonstrate that as well in a moment. But I wanted to get this good bird's eye view of how this all worked before I did all that. So yeah, picked these up last year. This was in great shape as well. This is not a reproduction copy. You need to be aware of that because there are companies out there that are, well, I don't know about companies, but there's people who have their own little startups, and this is the other thing. Sometimes these are hard to get out. So obviously I had that flipped on for a second there. I'm not even going to edit that out. So, yeah, you got to watch some of these bootlegs of these CD games that are out there, unfortunately. And sometimes that's the best way, the only way some people can afford to play these games. Unless they want to just go and do the CDR copy route, which I'm going to admit, that's the way I've been doing it. I'm just copying. I can't afford to spend $300 on an original copy of Rondo of Blood from Japan at this point. So I'm making CDR copies of the few games that I do want to play. If I see them at decently priced, Gradius 2 here, for instance, I think I paid $50 for. I thought that was pretty reasonable. I got it at a game convention last year. I'm open for that. Any games that are getting up there in the high range, though, forget it. I just can't do it. So what I have been doing is using a Everdrive, a PC Everdrive. So a PC Engine Everdrive or TurboGrafx. This will work in both system. This is an official one by Crix, and it works really well. It's got a little reset button here. Takes you to the main menu. Just copy your games on there and go. This is the basic version, so it only works with HuCard games. It does not work with the CD games. You can get a CD version of this where it'll play everything, including CDs and HuCards, but that's about $250 plus, depending on where you want to get it. So this guy was about $100, and I got it from I think Stone Age Gamer. Yeah, Stone Age Gamer. I got that along with it. So for me, this is great. Emulation is also fine, obviously. I mean, a lot of people do it now. As these systems have gotten older, the prices have just gone sky high, unfortunately. So some people are just locked out of the hobby due to the pricing. And like I said, I'm not much of a collector anymore. I'm in my 50s. I mean, my childhood collection has pretty much been sold off for the most part. For me, I kept my original Nintendo, and I've got my game, as you know, because I'm pretty much a Game Boy guy. I have my Game Boy collection, and that's pretty much where I collect it because the games are small, easy to store, you don't need a lot of space. So I think that's about it for this part. So in the next little section of this video, I'm just going to take a little spin through some of the games, show off a few of my favorites, and also show off how this works, this Everdrive works, and also how these games play and work and operate on the system. All right, so take it away. Okay, so the TV's all powered on. Dual R is plugged in, hooked up, controller's hooked up, we're all good to go. Let's show off how some of this works. So I think the first thing we'll do is we'll show off a HuCard game. Which I had here is Dragon Spirit. Hopefully that'll come in pretty well. So once again, this is composite only. You can get an adapter that you could use if you want to run into like coaxial. I highly recommend playing this on a CRT if you have it. That's what it was really meant to shine on. It looks fantastic on here. It may not be coming through the video so much, but even on this cheap little Memorex CRT I have laying around, it looks great. If you're looking to plug it into something a little higher end, like or a newer TV, you can RGB it out with a mod. I haven't really looked into that offhand. I do know you can also do it at home if you're privy to doing something like that. I know my brother said he has done his. I've yet to see it in action, unfortunately. Also, another way you could play TurboGrafx PC Engine at home, CD otherwise, is with a system from Analog. Analog, who do the Pocket and the NT for the Nintendo, the Mega SG. They put out their own version of the PC Engine system that will work. It runs on FPGA hardware and will also play these systems, these games, these CDs, whatever you want to throw it at. Another cool feature of this system overall is some of the CD games had to use arcade cards, I'm sorry. Well, there is an arcade card, system cards. And some of the CD games will require them. And instead of having to go and run around looking for, I'm playing horribly right now because I can't concentrate. I can't do talk and chew gum at the same time here. One handy feature is you can turn these turbo buttons on now, and there he goes. Look at that. He's a dragon machine gun. What's great is NEC has incorporated all these system cards into this system besides the arcade card. The arcade card is the one holdout. So if you want to play some of these higher end games, you're gonna be out of luck. The one game that everybody wants to play with the arcade card is Sapphire, and that's a very expensive game. It's one of the last games released for the system, and is a real rarity. So I'm going to take the Hue card out, put that back here, and now we're going to show off how the CD-ROM game systems play. Open that up, close that one. And because this console has a system card built into its system overall, its mechanics and electrical engineering insides, we don't have to worry about inserting one of those cards in here. So they were mostly for the, that was closed. They are mostly for the original PC Engine CD-ROM system. But because this system came out so late in the lifespan, we don't have to worry about that so much. And as you can see, the little light is lighting up because it's accessing the drive and the disk. That's a blast from the past right there. The classic Konami logo. So this game has a very cool intro. I wonder if I can get in a little tighter here. Let's see if we can bring this up a little bit. Now, because of these CD games, over the card and cartridge games in the 16-bit era, we were able to get these awesome intros with this great Red Book stereo music. So for me, in the 16-bit era, I had both the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, but I still always preferred the Genesis because I love these kind of games. I love the shooting games like Musha and Fire Shark and any of those vertical games were my jam. So missing out on some of these games really at the time was a real bummer. I mean, nothing like this came to America, unfortunately, but knowing that I could have been playing these is a real downer. So you get some better. So cool. What's great is, I mean, this was technically it was a 16-bit system, so to speak. The PC Engine was running on, I believe, 2 8-bit processors, so they considered it a 16-bit system. But what this whole console was able to put out was amazing. It had so many great games that just got glossed over in America. That they did a terrible job marketing it in America, and it's a real shame. I think if it would have come out a little sooner, before the release of the Genesis, I think it could have been a real contender. But by the time the Genesis came out, its fire was, it just ate it. So we're going to show it off a little bit here. I kind of mix myself up between two-way and the original. I think I'm just going to go original. And I always go for the 2 front shields. I think they're overall a better deal here. One thing that kind of stinks about this TV is it only has the one. It doesn't have stereo for the composites. So as cool as it sounds, it's still in mono. The original Gradius was one of my first Nintendo games that I bought at the time. Now, obviously, in 1986, 87, I didn't know what a Gradius was. But I knew it's supposed to be an arcade game. I'd never seen the arcade game before in person, but I was a big fan of that. And then they had Life Force come out, which I found out was a sequel. In some respects. But this is actually the true sequel. Right here. And this was released in the arcades, but I don't believe it was ever released in America in the arcades. I don't know why. I feel like this is harder before. But... I mean, I guess using that turbo fire helps a little bit, but... So anyway, that's Gradius 2 running on the CD. Part of the system. Moving on, I'm going to show off the PC Everdrive real quick and just flip through some of these games. Now the PC Engine, Everdrive is really neat. TurboGrafx. So you can dump your games in here and go. I'm going to start over PC Engine. We've got A to Z and pretty much every game in the library. It was a decent sized library, but I'm going to show off a few of my favorites. First one being Devil Crush, which is this really cool pinball game with a demonic edge to it. Bombed right away. Unfortunately, the colors aren't coming around that great through the CRT. If I mess around with the camera settings too much, it kind of gives this weird effect going. I'll mess with the camera. But I'm hoping you can get an idea of what's going on. This came out in America as Devil's Crush, and they did make some minor adjustments to the American release in terms of censorship. They took out the pentagrams, some of the little more satanic things, because we were still into that whole moment of oh no, the video games are corrupting my child into being a Satanist era of Dungeons and Dragons. And so you do see a little of that here. That's why I recommend, if you're going to play on an Everdrive, just stick with the Japanese releases of the game so you get the full effect. Yeah, see, the camera isn't really picking up the screen so great. Unfortunately, it's not as nice as I was hoping. So for us to get back to the main menu to choose a different game, on the Everdrive itself is a little button you can push. It would be cool if there was a shortcut you could set. Now, I believe you can do that in one of the more expensive models. I believe you can pick a combination for your controller, and it'll zap you back. There's Dragon Spirit, which I just played a little bit ago, is the actual card. Another one of my favorites is Galaga 88, which released in America as Galaga 90. It's really one of the coolest arcade ports at the time, and it was really the only way to play this game outside the arcade at home. This right here was one of the reasons I got a TurboGrafx to begin with, because I love this game. Another one I wanted to show off was that I liked. It was another great port. Was Sidearms. It's funny. I got the turbo on. I'm not even using it. One thing, I'm trying to find myself a nicer flat screen CRT. You can see down at the bottoms here like this is supposed to be a nice size, you know, showing you a stage. The score is cut off up here. I think it depends on the resolution of the game that you're playing. Some of the games seem to have like a, I don't know, like they take up the screen differently, and I'm not really sure how that works. I'm not an expert with the videos and all that and resolutions. But it almost seems like certain games used a different resolution to them. Like, I don't know, it was weird. Mr. Helly, for instance, always seemed to have a different, almost like a widescreen effect. I don't know. I can't really explain it. But I definitely need to get a newer CRT, one that can really take advantage of these old systems, my Genesis included, because it's kind of... Let me see if I shut this light out above. Now that we're done looking at the system, I don't know if this is going to help at all. It might help a little bit. Let's see. See if that's any better. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. It's hard to get good video footage, you know, off screen like this. It seems like as soon as it starts moving, it just doesn't want to stay. Alright, so let's try something else here. I'm going to show you another one of my favorites. This one was also released in America, although I forget the name of it in Japan. So I'm going to go over to TurboGrafx. And that would be Legendary Axe. This is a really cool Rastan knockoff, so to speak. It's that same genre of, it's not a belt, one of those belt beat 'em up kind of games, but it's where you have a weapon and you're walking along. Aston Axe is another one on the Nintendo original NES. I always loved the sound effects in this game. I thought they were pretty cool. Yeah, I just can't get that video to stay focused. Nope. Damn it. I believe I did that. All right. Let's see if we can try one more game. Here's another one of my favorites, Soldier Blade. It's pretty amazing what they were able to put on some of these little hue cards. And what's great is you have, I almost want to say the CD library is where it's really at too. I mean, you have a lot of great hue card games, but you factor in the CD games and man, you have got quite a library to choose from. And not to pick sides, but the TurboGrafx PC Engine and the Mega Drive Genesis, they were my go-to. I mean, I like the Super Nintendo, but it is not my favorite of the three. It isn't even a second for me. I mean, I think it helps to be more of like nostalgic for Final Fantasy games and Donkey Kong Country and things like that. I mean, I love the A Link to the Past and Super Mario World and ActRaiser. But these games right here, these are the games that I love to play. These are vertical shooters and all the action games, and especially the arcade ports. They were just something that really attracted me to these systems. And I also enjoyed the graphics and the overall feel of the games. Everything just seemed faster and to move faster and smoother. And I mean, I guess you could say blast processing was a real thing for me. But not only that, just the music. Something about the music and this and the Genesis really just did it for me. The edgy kind of rock kind of sound music. Everything just was in your face. And on the Super Nintendo, everything just felt a little more mellow and laid back and slow. And yeah, I don't know. But that's one of the reasons I always want to go back and try to finally get myself one of these systems. It's like having a little piece of Japan, 1990s Japan, in your home, you know? A little something you can just come home and pop on and access these wonderful games from a lost era. So, and I'll show you a game also, besides Bonk, that a lot of people probably know this system for. And that's Blazing Lasers. When everybody thinks about the TurboGrafx PC Engine, one of the first games they think of is Blazing Lasers, or in Japan, Gunhead, as it was called. This is another vertical shooting game. Compile had a little help in this, much like the game I just played. Another vertical shooter. See how everything's just coming at you and blasting at you in your face. It's just amazing what this system could do at the time. It's kind of a hard game. And I'm still wrapping my head around the power-up system in this game as well. All these years later, I still try to figure it out. Yep. So I think that's about it. Yeah, that's pretty much my take on this cool system. And hope you got something out of it. Hope it was enjoyable to a point. If you guys can want to comment down below what some of your favorite games are for this system, I'd love to hear them. Maybe even get a little more educated about it. But I like to think the system, like I said, I've always wanted one of these, and I think it's fantastic doing. If you're looking to get something a little more niche in your system lineup and to plug in at home and you have a CRT, I highly recommend picking one up. As I said, Analog has their own version of this system with FPGA hardware. The one thing I'm not too thrilled about is the slot CD design. I was never a big fan of the slot CD. It just seems like there's too much that can go wrong with it. I'd rather be able to just pop the lid open and lay the disc in there, much like the original PlayStation 1 system was able to do. Even the Sega CD with its tray that comes out, I'd like to bring that up in another future video. The original model was with the motorized door. That's more prone to breaking as well, but it's still that I prefer that over the slot insert design. I know a couple people have had problems with it, but overall it looks like a decent system if you're looking to pick something up. I was too stuck on getting an original one of these, and I'm really happy to have it. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys next time. Probably next time I'll go back to doing something Game Boy related. But thanks for joining me this evening. Have a good night.